I never considered myself the prying type. Life in our little corner of Montana was simple, predictable, like the endless stretches of golden grasslands that rolled out from our backyard. But that afternoon, with Jack off on one of his sales trips peddling farm equipment across the state, the house felt too still. The kind of quiet that amplifies every creak of the old wooden beams and the distant lowing of cattle from the neighbor's ranch. I'd been putting off a deep clean for months, and with nothing but time, I rolled up my sleeves. The living room was my starting point. I dusted the mantel lined with photos of us hiking in the Rockies, fluffed the plaid cushions on the couch, and wiped down the windows that overlooked the vast, sun-drenched plains. That's when my gaze fell on his prized yucca plant. Jack adored that thing. He'd hauled it from his old place in Wyoming when we got hitched 8 years back. It stood tall in the corner, its spiky leaves reaching like fingers toward the ceiling. He babed it with a strict watering routine and some fancy organic fertilizer he ordered online. Heck, I'd caught him muttering to it once or twice, like it was an old buddy. I figured it'd thrive better by the window, catching that golden afternoon light. So I wrapped my arms around the heavy terracotta pot and gave it a nudge. It didn't move. I tugged harder, tilting it just a bit. Big mistake. The weight shifted, and before I could catch it, the whole darn thing crashed to the floor. Shards flew everywhere. Soil clumped in dark heaps, and the yucca flopped over like it had been shot. My pulse raced. "Jack's gonna lose it," I muttered, dropping to my knees to scoop up the mess, brushing dirt from my faded jeans. As I gathered the bigger pieces of pottery, something caught my eye, a plastic bag, taped up tight and buried in the root ball. My hands paused. What the heck? I pulled it free, careful not to tear it. It was dusty, bulky. I set it aside and focused on salvaging the plant, propping it in a bucket with fresh water and sweeping up the soil. But that bag nagged at me. Once the floor was clean, I plunked down on the couch and peeled back the tape. Inside was a thick white envelope. I slid it open, and my breath caught. Stacks of $100 bills, crisp and banded. Real money, no doubt. But tucked behind them was a faded photo, edges worn like it had been thumbed through 100 times. I flipped it over. There was Jack. Younger, maybe mid-20s, with that same easy grin, standing in what looked like a park with cottonwoods in the background. Next to him, a woman I didn't know, slender, with wavy auburn hair, and a little girl clinging to his leg. My stomach twisted.
Who were they?
Why hide this in a plant pot he guarded like Fort Knox? The room's quiet turned oppressive. I glanced around, half expecting Jack to burst in laughing, saying it was a prank.
But no.
I sat there, cash in one hand, photo in the other, my heart hammering. Whatever this was, Jack had buried it deep. And now, it had spilled out. Sleep dodged me that night. The photo haunted my thoughts, the woman's soft smile, the girl's tiny hand wrapped around Jack's finger like it belonged there. I laid it on the coffee table under the lamp's warm glow. The shot seemed taken in a sunny spot, maybe a local fairground with booths in the blur. No date, no names scribbled on the back. The cash, tens of thousands, untouched. Why stash it like that? Jack had always been solid, kind, steady. The guy who'd fix the fence after a storm without complaint. But he was private,
too.
Didn't like folks poking into his business.
Now,
those quirks felt like red flags I'd waved off. I padded to our bedroom, flipping on the hall light. His closet was organized to a fault, shirts hung by color,
boots polished.
I slid open the bottom drawer. Flannel shirts, belts,
socks.
Nothing odd. But as I pushed it back, a faint metallic clink echoed from behind. My breath hitched. I yanked the drawer out completely. In the narrow gap, a small key gleamed, plain and worn. No label. I pocketed it, mind racing. A photo. Money. Now a key. To what? Back in the living room. I examined it under the light. It looked used, edges smoothed from years of turning locks. What else was Jack hiding? We'd built this life together. Our ranch-style home on the outskirts of Billings. Weekend barbecues with neighbors. Dreams of starting a family someday. But after 8 years, he was due back in 4 days. Plenty of time to dig deeper. But where to start? I considered calling his sister.
Emily.
We'd bonded over coffee runs and family holidays. Maybe she'd have insight. But would she spill if she knew? I didn't want to assume the worst. Yet, staring at that photo, the girl's eyes, so like Jack's, whispered doubts. This wasn't my marriage anymore. It was a puzzle with missing pieces. The next day,
I invited Emily over.
not to grill her outright, but to gauge her reactions. She showed up with her usual energy, a box of fresh donuts from the local bakery, griping about the dusty drive from her place in Bozeman. This house always smells like home, she said, kicking off her boots and hugging me. I brewed coffee, black for her, cream for me, and we settled on the porch swing, overlooking the prairie. She chattered about her job at the vet clinic, a disastrous blind date. I nodded, but my focus was sharp. How's the solo time treating you? She asked. Missing Jack yet? I stir my coffee. It's nice. Gave me a chance to tidy up. She laughed. Don't mess with his stuff. You know how picky he is. We chuckled, but I pressed. Picky how? She shrugged. Like with that yucca. Wouldn't let the movers near it when you bought this place. Said it had history. My grip tightened on the mug. History? Emily sipped, relaxed. Jack's always been like that, keeps things close. Pretends life's all sunshine when he's bottling stuff up. That hit home. Jack was charming. Sure. But he'd clam up on tough days. Does he keep secrets? I asked lightly.
She paused.
Not big ones.
Well,
except that mess with her. My pulse quickened. Her regret flashed in her eyes. Shoot. I shouldn't have said that. Forget it. Emily. What mess? She fidgeted. It's old news. Jack got tangled with someone in his 20s. Ended rough. That's all. Serious? She nodded reluctantly. For a bit. But he doesn't mention her anymore. Hasn't seen her in. She trailed off. In what? She laughed nervously. Ages. I don't know details, but her avoidance screamed otherwise. I shifted topics, keeping it light. But her slip confirmed it. An ex? Important. Maybe the woman in the photo. And that girl? Part of the mess? After she left, I stared at the untouched donuts. The pieces fit a hidden past. A woman. A child. For the first time, I whispered it. Does he have a kid? The wind through the screen door was my only reply. The key burned a hole in my pocket after Emily's visit. Jack's secrets weren't just faded memories. They had roots. Deep and tangled like the yuccas. I couldn't shake the feeling I'd unearthed something meant to stay buried. That morning, with the sun streaming through the garage windows, I faced his storage area. Tools hung neatly on pegboards, old camping gear stacked high. Behind it all sat a weathered metal trunk. The kind folks use for heirlooms or emergency kits out here, where wildfires can strike fast. I'd never bothered with it before, Assumed it held junk like rusty nails or outdated maps.
But now?
I shoved the gear aside and knelt down. Sure enough, a small keyhole gleamed on the latch. My hands trembled as I inserted the key. It turned with a soft click. Inside, a fireproof safe box waited, matte black and solid. The key fit this lock too. Lifting the lid felt like cracking open a time capsule. Cool air rushed out, carrying a faint, musty scent. The contents stole my breath. A bulky manila folder, 2 passports, a pair of plain gold rings, and a yellowed note. I grabbed the passports first. One was Jack's real name, recent photo. The other? His face. But under Thomas Reed. A fake ID? My mind reeled. Out west. Folks sometimes carry backups for border runs to Canada. But this? It screamed trouble. The folder held documents, bank transfers, legal papers, a birth certificate.
Then,
a marriage license, Jack's name, wed to Rebecca Lawson, dated a decade before we met. The note, scrawled in looping handwriting, you promised you'd return. She's asking about you. My vision blurred. She, the woman or the girl? I closed the box, hugging it tight, and retreated to the kitchen table. Spreading it all out, the truth hit like a Montana thunderstorm. Jack had been married. He'd faked an identity, maybe to skip out. Those rings? Worn, one-sized for a woman. Inscribed inside. RL to JH, endless horizons. I dropped the ring, its clink echoing. This wasn't a fling. It was a life abandoned. A family,
perhaps.
And he'd stashed reminders in a plant, close but concealed. That yucca's seen me through thick and thin, he'd say. I thought he meant job losses.
Moves.
Now?
Lies.
Needing air. I stepped onto the porch. The vast sky stretched blue, dotted with hawks circling. But my world felt smaller.
Closing in.
Across the dirt road, Mrs. Thompson tended her vegetable patch, her sun hat bobbing as she weeded. She'd lived here forever. Sharp-eyed and kind, the type to wave at every pickup truck. She spotted me and straightened. Morning. Sarah, you're out early.
I krost over.
Gravel crunching. Couldn't sleep. She wiped her brow. You look weighed down.
Hon. I hesitated.
Just thinking. She eyed me. Jack's still on the road.
Ha!
Back in 2 days. She nodded, then dropped a bomb. He always heads out when the dust settles too quiet. My brow furrowed. What do you mean? She leaned on her hoe. I've been on this stretch of land longer than most. Seen things. Like what? She glanced around. About 7 years back. Sheriff's deputies stopped by. Suits from the city, asking after Jack. Something about a woman tied to him. My gut clenched. Police?
Yep.
Didn't spill details, but they were serious. Never returned.
Though.
Did you tell Jack? She shook her head. Didn't want to meddle. He always struck me as guarded, friendly. But walls up. The wind rustled the corn stalks nearby. Sarah, if something's off, listen to your gut. Us women sense it. I swallowed. Ever see him with anyone before me?
She paused.
Once. Early morning. A woman stepped from his truck, looked upset.
No Keith.
But she seemed broken. My fists clenched. Mrs. Thompson touched my arm. Don't ignore signs. Trips without warning. Locked away stuff. That's not right. Reminds me of my ex. Stayed silent too long. I nodded, thanking her, and trudged back. Police inquiries. a distressed woman, it aligned with the docs. Inside, I pored over the photo again. Rebecca? The girl with Jack's dimples? Fake IDs. Pin cash. A note pleading return. Jack had compartmentalized his life, and I'd crashed through the barrier. By noon, I booted up his laptop in the study. He preferred his phone for work, but this old Dell was unlocked with a guess. Our wedding year plus yucca. 2016 yucca. It worked. Emails were mundane, sales pitches, invoices for tractors. But digging deeper, a flight receipt popped from Billings to Seattle. Not the Boise conference he'd claimed. No Boise bookings at all. But Seattle? Multiple trips in his travel history. Same suburb near a school. My hands shook. The girl, maybe school age now. Had he been visiting? The house creaked, a reminder of our shared space turning foreign. A desktop folder labeled Old Files held spreadsheets and a locked doc. RL. Rebecca Lawson? I shut it down. Tears pricking. Numbness set in. The business trips, moody spells, vague past talks, he'd hinted at rough patches but never elaborated.
Now.
It clicked. Another life. Ongoing. I touched the yucca's leaf. What else? Silence. Jack home tomorrow. Confrontation loomed. The truck rumbled up the drive just past lunch. I stood in the kitchen, knuckles white on the counter, watching dust settle. I'd rehearsed this, but doubt crept in. The door swung open. Sarah. Honey, Jack's voice. Warm as ever, like nothing amiss. Footsteps. Keys jingling. Beethoven. He entered, smile fading at the table's display. Cash. Photo. Passports. Certificate.
Note. His face drained.
Sarah. Sit, I said, voice steady. He complied, eyes down. I found it in the yucca. He exhaled. I can explain. Truth this time.
All.
He rubbed his temples. Her name's Rebecca. We married young. Before you. The girl?
Sophie.
My daughter. Pain knifed me, but I held firm. Why hide it? He looked haunted. I wasn't ready. Panicked after she was born. Left them in Seattle. Started fresh here in Montana. Fake passports. I got scared. Thought she'd fight for custody. Changed my name legally once. But the old ID. It's from that mess. Not illegal now. Just a reminder. Legally clearer, name change filed properly.
No fraud.
But the deceit stung. You've been flying there? He nodded. Rebecca contacted me last year. Sophie's 12. Curious about her dad. I couldn't say no.
And me?
When were you telling me? Tears welled in his eyes. I tried, but feared losing you. You're my world now. Half-truths aren't a world. Jack. Silence stretched. I rose. You need space. Go to a motel tonight. Shock hit him. Sarah. I don't hate you. But trust's broken. He stood, taking the photo. I'll make this right.
Door shit.
And relief washed over me. The yucca stood bare. Secrets aired. But as evening fell, painting the plains in orange, doubt nagged. Was kicking him out too harsh? Mrs. Thompson's words echoed. Don't stay silent too long. Yet Emily's slip hinted at regret in Jack. I called her. Hey.
Cease.
Need advice. She listened as I spilled photo, docs, confrontation.
Oh. Sarah.
I knew bits, but not all. He regrets leaving them. Therapy helped him some. Therapy. Yeah. After you two married. He wanted to be better. That softened the edges. Jack wasn't a monster. Scared kid turned man carrying baggage. Night deepened. Stars blanketing the sky like Montana's vast quilt. I texted him. We talk tomorrow. No reply, but hope flickered. Dawn broke crisp. Coffee in hand, I sat on the porch, watching the sun climb over the Rockies. Jack's truck pulled up. He approached.
Hat in Hand.
Eyes red. Thanks for the chance. Inside. We sat. Start from the beginning. He did. Met Rebecca in college. Whirlwind marriage. Sophie's birth overwhelming him. Postpartum hit her hard. I bailed instead of helping. Changed name legally to escape alimony fears, dumb. But no crime. Court-ordered support later. I've paid quietly. Cash in the plant. Emergency fund for Sophie. In case. Humane layers emerged. He'd reconnected not for romance, but fatherhood. I visit monthly. Help with school. Rebecca's remarried. Happy. Why hide?
Shame.
Feared you'd see me as a failure. Tears flowed. I love you.
Sarah.
You're my second chance. My anger thawed. We need counseling. Full transparency. He agreed. And, meet Sophie? Hesitant. But I nodded. Family's about facing messes together. We hugged. A tentative bridge. Weeks passed. Therapy sessions in Billings unpacked years of silence. Jack opened up, sharing letters from Sophie. One evening, he showed a recent photo, her at a Seattle park.
Grinning.
She wants to visit Montana. Nerves hit, but excitement too. Emily came over. Donuts in tow. Proud of you both, Mrs. Thompson waved from her garden. Looks like things settled. They had. The yucca.
Repotted.
Thrived by the window, symbol of unearthed truths leading to growth. As spring thawed the Montana frost, our sessions deepened.
Dr.
Ellis, a no-nonsense therapist with a rancher vibe, pushed us. Secrets erode foundations like riverbanks in flood. Jack admitted his flight response stemmed from a tough upbringing. Dad walked out when he was 10. I repeated the cycle. But with Sarah, I want to break it. I share my fears. Felt like second best. Progress was slow, but real. One weekend, Jack suggested a drive to Yellowstone. Amid geysers and bison. He opened more. Rebecca and I divorced amicably after I left. Court handled custody, visitation rights, child support. All above board. Clarity on legalities eased my mind. No shady dealings. Just poor choices. Why the extra passport? Old paranoia. Destroyed it now. Trust rebuilt. Brick by brick. Sophie arrived in summer. Plane from Seattle. Rebecca's blessing. Nervous. I baked cookies, chocolate chip, Montana style with walnuts. She stepped off. Lanky 12-year-old with Jack's eyes. Hugging him tight.
Dad.
To me, hi.
Sarah.
Thanks for this. We toured the ranch. Rode horses on trails. She chattered about school. Friends. Over dinner, grilled steak. Fresh corn, she asked. Why'd you leave? Jack teared up. Scared. Biggest regret. But I'm here now. I watched. Heart swelling. This wasn't revenge, it was redemption. Sophie stayed a week. Bonding. You're cool.
Sarah.
Like a bonus mom. Laughter filled our home. Once silent. Emily hosted a barbecue. Families expanding. Mrs. Thompson joined, whispering, Proud of you, girl. As sun set, Jack pulled me aside. Thank you for forgiveness. Lesson learned. Honesty heals. We kissed under stars. Yucca silhouetted in the window, a reminder that broken things can mend. Fall brought routine, but enriched. Jack's trips to Seattle included me sometimes. Rebecca and I chatted, cordial, united for Sophie. No drama, just humanity. One evening, tending the yucca, I reflected. Smashing that pot shattered illusions, but birthed truth. Light lesson. Face fears head-on, secrets wither. But openness blooms. Winter blanketed Montana in snow, but our home glowed warm. Sophie video called weekly, sharing art, sketches of mountains inspired by her visit. Planning summer trip, Jack beamed. Fully present. Therapy wrapped, tools in hand for future storms. Reflecting, I saw growth. Jack volunteered at a local dads group, sharing his story anonymously. Helps others avoid my mistakes. I joined a book club, finding solace in stories of resilience.
Christmas.
Sophie flew in. We decorated the yucca with lights, ironic nod to its role. Gifts exchanged. Laughter echoed. Rebecca sent cookies. Note: grateful for co-parenting. No bitterness. Humane paths forward. New Year's Eve. Toasting by the fire. Jack said, to second chances. I clinked glasses. And honest hearts. The journey taught, life's pots break. Spilling secrets, but with courage. Weary plant stronger. In the end, our family wasn't perfect, but real, woven from forgiveness. A light lesson in the power of truth over silence. The western winds whispered approval as stars watched over our mended world.